You're watching PowerNation. Today on Carcass, we make our 1972 Camaro a hardtop once again. But first we'll show you how to remove the glue and remnants from the old vinyl top.
Plus, we hit the road on another driveway rescue, helping a father and son team keep their Camaros on the road. Hey guys, welcome to Carcass. Now Jimmy and I are super excited to get our hands dirty on our 1972 road course Camaro again. It's been a hot second since we've touched this thing. Now we've done a bunch of work so far to get it to this point, but if you guys are just joining us for the first time, or you just need a quick recap, let us show you what we've done. We started with a well-used, stockish Camaro RS that had some really good bones. We got to work stripping it down to just a shell so we could see what we had to work with. After finding a couple issues, we dug into the body and added a set of mini tubs so we can fit up some wider tires, along with a fuel cell in the trunk. Then we laid out the groundwork for a race-inspired roll cage to stiffen up the car and to keep us safe.
The next thing to do is add some upgraded suspension in the rear, along with a 9-inch axle to handle the horsepower. Up front, we cleaned up the subframe, did some mods, and replaced the suspension with some tubular upper and lower control arms.
The engine and transmission install came next, which included moving it back about a foot and adding a front motor plate. To get it to fit in the Camaro, we grabbed some cutoff wheels and trimmed the firewall to fit. Then we added a rear firewall to block off the fuel cell from the passenger compartment.
The last thing we did was lay out a set of custom quarter panels and fender flares to fit our wheel and tire setup. That included some work with some expanding foam, body filler, fiberglass, and most importantly, some carbon fiber. All that work leads us to today, and something that you guys may have noticed over the last episode or so, that these panels have made their way into the main hoop structure. The reason why I made these is just to give the interior of the car a little bit more of a finished look. So I made these out of some aluminum sheet metal, gave them a bead roll pattern just for some rigidity and some style, but they aren't quite done yet. I will have to cut some holes in these two panels just so our harnesses can attach to the harness bar. And you also may be wondering, how are we gonna see out of the back of this thing with these panels blocking our view? We are gonna be using a rear view camera like a modern race car would. But all the work on the inside that I wanted to get done with the roof off has now been completed, so we can finally get the roof back on the Camaro.
Now with the cage work and the panels that Jimmy just showed you installed inside of the Camaro, now is a good time to weld the roof back on the car. Now we know we gave you guys a little bit of a heart attack when we cut this off, but it allowed us to weld all of the seams on the Camaro's roll cage to make it nice and safe. If you guys remember when we picked up the Camaro, it had a vinyl top on it, and when we pulled that off, it left all of this fuzz and all of the glue on the top. So now is a good time to tackle this and get rid of all of that fuzz before we weld it on, just because it's sitting here on the table. We have a couple different ideas on how we're going to tackle this, some techniques that we're gonna try. Let me go grab some stuff, and we'll show you how we get that done. So one of the methods that we could use to try to get the glue and the fuzz off of the roof here would be to use a DA. Now we don't think that's gonna work very well because as we start sanding into the glue and the fuzz, we think it's just gonna load up the sandpaper. Sandpaper is expensive, just doesn't seem cost effective to do it that way. Second method includes a Scotch-Brite, and we could just sit here and try to rub on the fuzz itself to get it off. Just doesn't seem like that's working either, and it's kind of loading up on the Scotch-Brite already. Third method involves just a rag and some lacquer thinner. So if we kind of saturate the rag here a little bit, we can set it on top of the glue and kind of hold down on there and just kind of let it chemically react and release some of that glue, and then come back and try to rub it and wipe it off. That seems to be doing the job. And the fourth method, which we think is going to be the quickest, is to use a grinder with a bristle disc. Some people call them a roll-lock disc. And we could sit in here and just grind all of the fuzz and the glue off. Now, our plan is to use a combination of both of these. What we're going to do is soak our rag full of lacquer thinner. We're going to let it rest on the fuzz and on the glue for a little while. Then we're going to come back, grab the roll-lock disc, and we'll start taking all this off and get this whole roof skin cleaned up. So let's go over a scenario where you guys do want to keep your paint in good shape as soon as you get all of this stuff off of here. We figured it out. If you use your rag that's soaked in lacquer and you just let it sit on the panel for a couple of minutes, it actually does a really good job of releasing all of the glue. And if you rub it, put some elbow grease into it, you can actually just rub all of the glue, clean off the roof skin here, and let you save your paint. But we're gonna keep moving forward. We're gonna use a combination of both of these. We're still gonna use the lacquer and the little angle grinder there. We're gonna go ahead, get this all prepped, taken care of. Then we're gonna move on to getting this thing welded back on the Camaro.
Coming up, we show you how to remove old lead body filler. Then we put the roof back on our road course Camaro.
All right, so we have the top prepped and it's ready to be welded back on the Camaro, but there is one thing we have to take care of first. Now, when Jimmy and I cut the top off of the car, we cut right through the factory seam, and what GM did and what a lot of car manufacturers did is instead of using a body filler in here to make this all nice and smooth, they actually used lead. Now, there's two ways to get the lead out of this thing. One is by grinding it, but we really do not want to make it airborne. And the second step, which is the way we're going to be doing it, is we're actually going to be using an oxyacetylene torch, and we're going to be reheating up the lead and making it flow. And then we're gonna go ahead and use some scrapers and maybe a wire brush here, and we're just gonna kind of brush this off and let it hit the floor. Now, one thing I can't stress enough here is your personal safety. Make sure you've got a good pair of glasses on, we've got good respirator, gloves, and I'm even gonna be wearing a jacket. Plus, we have an exhaust fan here in the shop, so we're gonna turn that on, make sure we pull all the fumes up and out. So, to get started here, I'm gonna get all suited up, we'll fire up the torch, and we'll literally try to get the lead out. When you're doing this, you want to make sure you move around the panel a lot. We don't want to put a lot of heat onto the panel to the point where it starts to distort. Just heat it up enough to make the lead run off. Okay, so now all the lead is out of the back of the car. We're actually gonna transition up here to the A-pillar. What I've done is bent up a couple tabs that fit the contour of the A-pillar on the inside. The idea behind these tabs is we're gonna drill a couple holes and do some rosette welds and keep these tabs into place. Then we're gonna come back, and when we set the top on, we're gonna engage the other side of the A-pillar into these tabs with a couple rosette welds, and we're gonna weld it on that way. Then we'll also come in and weld up the seam. Now, this is a nice, strong repair on the A-pillar, but one thing to remember is that the top is just solely for aesthetics at this point. It's just to make the car look like a Camaro again. Our roll cage is doing everything we need in the safety side of things and just to stiffen up the chassis. So we'll go ahead and get started here. I'll pull the tabs back out, grab the drill, and we'll drill some holes for our rosette welds. Once the holes are drilled, we'll remove all the paint to give us a nice, clean welding surface. All right, so we got Jimmy on one side. I grabbed Joel from Detroit Muscle. He's gonna hold the back, and we're gonna try to engage the A-pillars into these tabs. All right, I got mine started.
Let's see.
Pushy pulley here.
Yeah, I'll just need to kind of tap these with a hammer to get them to fall in.
Okay, I'll grab a hammer. All right, mine's in. Perfect. There we go, that'll work. With a combination of rosette welds and stitch welding, I moved around the car, making sure I didn't weld in one place too long and distort all the metal. What's better than one Camaro? Two Camaros. We help a father and son team with a few minor parts on their projects in another driveway rescue. All right, guys, it's driveway rescue day. Jimmy and I are out in the backcountry roads of Tennessee, and we're gonna go help a family of Camaro owners. There's a mom, a dad, and a son, and each of them own a different generation of Camaro. Now, they've worked on the cars a little bit, but they need a little bit of help just kind of buttoning these things up, so that's what we're gonna do today.
So Dad's is a 1980 Camaro, which we're pretty familiar with second gens at this point. The son's is a 1991, which we're also familiar with third gens because we built one of those. And Mom's is a 2020, and her car is very nice. So we're just gonna pay attention to the dad's and the son's Camaro. And this is a pretty cool thing for us just because we're both familiar with working with our families in the garage, turning wrenches and stuff like that. Growing up, I was always in the garage with my dad and my brother doing stuff. You work with your son, and even your wife turns wrenches from time to time. So we've all clocked a lot of hours doing this, and this is a nice opportunity to kind of extend a helping hand and just try to get these cars in a little bit better running condition.
And you know, they've done quite a bit of work on these cars already, but everybody can use a helping hand to kind of just finish this stuff up. So us together with Rock Auto, we got a bunch of parts, we got a bunch of tools. We're gonna go help them kind of just button these cars up. Well,
there we go.
Yeah.
I see 3 Camaros in the driveway.
Let's go meet them and see what they're all about, huh?
Cool.
All right, Ethan, Josh.
Nice to meet
Hey,
you.
nice
Joshua,
to meet you.
good to see you guys.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Jeremy.
So you guys got a pair of Camaros here. Ethan, yours is a 91, correct?
Correct.
And Josh?
1980.
Awesome. Well, we've got a bunch of parts and stuff in the van. I think it's best if we just kind of get at this and
Put up some tents,
yeah.
get some shade up. And
yeah, it's nice and hot.
Get
So
going.
Yeah.
we'll get ready and we'll get started here.
Thank you.
My car is the 1991 Camaro RS that we basically pulled out of a field. We were really looking for a project car for my first car. I was really kind of looking for a second gen. My parents convinced me that I should get a third gen because they're just better suspension and better drivetrain and stuff. We found this one online. We went out near the edge of Kentucky to go get it and brought it back here. We've just been working on it ever since. When we first got it back to our house, we did not trust anything on it. So since then, we've done the brakes, the back axle, and all of the suspension on the front and back.
It was actually as advertised. They didn't try to upsell it. I think they were very honest with the listing. We knew it was going to be a good project, but it needed everything. It showed that it had been sitting.
Well, I was just excited at that point. It was my first car, and it was an older car that was pretty cool for 14, 15-year-old.
All right, guys, got a couple of parts to get started up underneath the hood here. Jimmy's got a radiator. And I've got the blower motor. We've got a couple more things for up front here, but kind of get started on all of this.
Yeah, we'll get this strained out, and you guys can get the blower motor in it.
Sounds good. All right, we'll put the hose on here, this little drain. Vent tube, really, if I can get it in there. There we go. And then we can go ahead and slide it in.
Well, I've been helping my dad build the 80 Camaro since I was little, and I've always just liked building cars.
Perfect. I should wrap that up, huh?
Just as easy as it comes out.
Yes, sir.
He's done really well with, like, if he didn't know how to do this or that, like, hey, here's how I've been taught to do it, and I've showed him, and he's taken to that very well. It's been awesome watching him grow and learn how to do these skills, and then also take a lot of pride in, you know, the project that he's working on too. Just seeing him do it's the best.
All right, final piece. Cooling system will be all wrapped back up. We helped create a few more memories before this father and son hit the back roads.
All right, Josh, so we've got a bunch of work done on Ethan's car, and you being the dad, we didn't want to forget about you either. I know you've got some issues going on with your car as well.
Yeah, so sometimes when it rains real heavy, we'll have a little bit of water get in through the T-top seals, I think, and into the seat.
Perfect. So we've got some new seals up here for the T-tops. We also grabbed some sill plates, so we'll go ahead and replace all that stuff. So if we want to grab the door, we'll get that open, get your top off, and start getting these seals out of there.
All right.
My car is a 1980 Camaro Z28. I got it from my uncle. It's his car before mine. I think he was the second or third owner, so it hadn't changed hands too many times, but he got it when he was out in California. He offered it to me, and I kind of wanted an early second gen, but because he had one, he's like, hey, you know, I don't want to keep that around. Do you want it? And yeah, I couldn't turn it down. When I got the car, it was almost completely stock. Like, there was almost nothing done to it, but it was in very good condition, like 45,000 mile car. But I wanted to kind of do like the resto mod sort of thing. One of the things we had to do was engine. It was just like losing compression, so we plucked it. It's 30 over 350 small block. It's got Flowtech cylinder heads. It's got a Lunati Voodoo cam, like Edelbrock intake, I think, and a Holley Demon carb. That's the biggest part of the engine that we did. It's got a lowered suspension and wheels and tires, and not much else, I don't think.
All right, Josh, we'll kind of start in the back. We'll start up top here and work our way down. We'll follow the corners however they fit here. It's kind of got a locking channel in it, so if we get it in the channel, it goes underneath these T-top clips there.
Yeah.
It fits really well. This should hopefully keep the water off your seat too.
Awesome.
Or your wife's seat.
My dad was into cars, and he taught me pretty much everything I know about how to work on them, so I owe all that to him. My dad had a 67 Chevelle that he built for kind of drag racing back when I was a kid, so yeah, I kind of learned all that from him, yeah.
You know, Josh, this seal is so much better than your other seal.
Looks great.
So we might have to fight this a little bit because there's definitely a lot of expansion here, I guess. So we'll get this in, get it to latch here once. And the trick with new seals is always set everything in the sun. So once we get the other side done, we'll take it out, set it in the sun, let the sun really beat on all of this, and everything will kind of form itself into shape. And hopefully no more water leaks.
Awesome.
Nice.
Great.
All right, Ethan, so just to wrap up the front end on your car, your marker lamps are looking a little crusty, so we got some new ones from Rock Auto, and we got you a brand new grill insert. It's just the gray coating that comes in the box, and whenever you paint your car, you can match it or paint it black, however you want. Got all the new parts installed. This thing looks a little bit better than when we got here. It's pretty awesome.
Great. Awesome.
And not to leave you guys completely empty-handed, you know, Rock Auto's got this cool little section. It's called Tools and Universal Parts. And you can go on there and find odds and ends or stuff you really don't think you need. Kind of like when you go to a hardware store, you know, you always seem to find something that you can pick out from every aisle. So, knowing that at one point, Ethan, you are going to paint your car, we got you guys a bunch of buffing stuff. So we got buffers, and we've got some orbital polishers here. We've got all the compounds and stuff for you guys to help once you get your car painted. And I know Mom's got a really nice Camaro, so you can always, you know, go over and help her clean up her car. And one last thing that we got for you guys as well is, since you guys are working on your cars by yourself, that's a manual for your car.
Oh,
and
nice.
Josh, we got you a manual for your car, so if you guys have any more questions, you guys can just look through there and find everything else out. Nice. We do have a couple more parts we're gonna leave with you, Ethan. We have a weather strip kit for your car.
Thanks.
We've got some sill plates for your car. We'll leave those with you guys, and you guys can button that up. But really, the last thing I think you guys need to do is, since the car's kind of put together now, take it for a little bit of a test drive.
Yeah, have some fun with it.
Yeah,
All right.
Perfect. We'll go put this in the garage, get it out of your way. And you guys can go for a little rip here.
All right. So what do you think about all the new parts they put on?
Man, I really like what they've done. It made it look a lot better.
For sure.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that new cooling system is going to do real good.
Yeah, the new radiator is going to do a lot to keep this thing cool in the summer, for sure.
Yeah, now people will be able to actually see my blinkers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just that new buffing kit will come in real handy once we actually start to get some paint on it.
Yeah. It didn't hurt that the Rock Auto was able to get us some manuals for both of our cars either. That was excellent.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't find mine anywhere online.
Well, I really appreciate what the Carcass guys did for all their help this week. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of this stuff would have gone done for a long time if they didn't come out and help us.
Yeah, it's really cool of them to do that. Appreciate it very much.
That's what it's all about, man.
You know, the father and son team, Dad kind of passing the torch on to the son. They should be able to keep that car on the road for a long, long time with the help of Rock Auto.
Yep, and it makes us want to work on our car again, working on a couple Camaros today. Pretty cool.
Yeah, let's go hop in the van and let's get back to work.
Yeah, let's do it.